You're listening to Achtung Millwall, broadcasting from the beautiful South Birmingham. Accept no substitute.
Hello dear listeners, welcome to a festive something for the weekend, the week before Christmas. Joining me is our very own Santa Claus, it's Mr. Neil Fissler. How are you, Neil?
Cheer up, you miserable bastards, it's Christmas.
I was going to call our very own Jeremy Clarkson, but that might be going too far. Good to have you on the show, mate, as ever. We're just saying off it.
Markle, yeah, have I? So...
You don't seem to be fixated on Meghan Markle, but I'm sure there's a whole show yet to go, so we'll see. Anyway, we were just saying off air, Neil, it's a busy week ahead of us. We're recording this on Friday the 23rd, listeners, so Christmas Eve tomorrow, then Boxing Day is the Millwall away game at Watford. And then, well, if you include that one, three big games in 7 days now. Bristol City on the Thursday night, and Sunday's New Year's Day game at home to Rotherham. There's a big 9 points ahead of us, and we're set fair. If only we can start to, get a bit of momentum in the season, get something going again. That's what we seem to be needing to do all season long. We need to get some wind in our sails and get the season ignited again. Yeah,
to be honest, we've got 3 games in 6 days, and I don't think we've had 3 games in 6 weeks, have we?
No.
It is a crucial time of the year. It is, because you always look at the table going into Christmas and New Year and you think, yeah, we're well set. But I think that Gary Rowett pointed out on London News Online in his roundabout sort of managerial speak nobody understands type way, that this year it is very tight up there, and I think it's tighter than it's been for a little while. You normally have 1 or 2 clubs that drift away at the bottom of the table, don't you? And then you've got third bottom up to mid-table. There's a few points, but I think we're 5 points off QPR, and we're probably about, I don't know, I think, are we about 8-9 points off the bottom? The bottom 3, maybe 10, 12 points.
Yeah, because you can. You're right. Yeah. Well, there we are. We're in 10th as we record this, listeners. 32 points, and I think that's the gist of Gary Rowett's piece. I'm just looking at the same piece on Richard Corley on the London News. He's making the point that in general, in recent times, you get a top 2 in this league, in the Championship, who tend to pull away. And we're looking at the moment, Burnley, top of the table, 47 points. Sheffield United, I think they won last night, on 44. And then I think he's making the point, which I think is a fair point, and we are included in this kind of fairly large, widespread group of teams, probably all the way down now to include West Brom, Stoke City, 29 points, and they're in 17th, 16th, 17th. Arguably, even Bristol City could be saying they're only a few points behind the playoff zone, Neil. They're on 27 points, our opponents on the Thursday night. So it's wide open. And, when you look at the course of the season, and I was just looking before Neil and I spoke, listeners, it's been a strange season because we seem to have moved in phases. We've either had periods where we can't barely get a goal, barely get a win, a lot of losses, and then we'll get some good form, 3 or 4 wins strung together, and, things have improved. We need to refine that phase of play, that phase of form where we get some results fundamentally. I'm hoping this is the week that we can start. We've got a tough game on Boxing Day. Watford are in 4th position. And there'd be Matt Rowett makes the point, Neil, that there's normally spaces available in the top 6 for the non-parachute money teams, and Watford will be one of the parachute money sides that they've come down from the Premier League with big bucks to build a squad, and who knows what they'll do to reinforce in January. So it's a big game actually at the Vicarage Road on Boxing Day, lot at stake.
Yeah, we did well. I think we absolutely mullered them at home, didn't we?
3-0. Yeah, 3-0.
Season, didn't Bradshaw get a hat trick? So
yeah, I believe that was the game. It was a good performance and a good win over a decent side. So they won't be as bad as that on Boxing Day. I think that's for
No,
sure.
they're not. They're going to have a home. They're going to have a home crowd behind them.
Yeah.
You'd have thought that they've got quite a decent squad. Yeah, they've got players that they could probably flog for more than our entire squad.
Well, yeah.
Are playing for them, who always seems to be highly rated. And actually, it's a place that we go to and we don't do very well at. I think I can only think of us winning there once, and that was in the. I'm willing to be corrected, and that was probably in the game where Neil Harris scored his famous goal many moons ago, or well, not so many moons ago.
It is a strange old place. I think you're right. I can't think of many. That was the one when you mentioned that. That was the first result that leapt into my mind. I can't think of many decent results we've had at Watford. I can't quite analyse why. It's not a particularly intimidating place. It's a bit like Crystal Palace in many respects. But I think the problem we've had in recent years is that they've done well to build themselves into a kind of a Premier League-ish shuttle side with the benefit of the parachute payments that Gary Rowett is mentioning. And they've bought and sold well, and they do have a decent squad at the moment. And I think that it's going to be a tough game. They're not unbeatable. They've won 10, they've lost 6, so they're not unbeatable. But it's a big game. We need to, at least at the minimum, avoid defeat. And if we can nick a result there, it could really set us ablaze for the week, for this big week that we've got ahead. So. I think I read 1,200 are making the journey up there on a pretty tough kickoff, 12 o'clock on Boxing Day, Neil. Hats off to those that are going to that one. I don't think I'll be able to make it, but hats off to those that are going.
Yeah, funnily enough, I've just had a look now. That game, the Harris game, I think was the 4-1. That was that was New Year's Day in 2002. Christ almighty.
A long while ago now, isn't it? Yeah.
And I think our last win that I can see was probably in 2006, March 25th of March 2006.
Yeah.
So that's 14 years ago, and that was a game where I think Carlos Saba scored and Ben May.
Wow, there's some names from the past there. Wow. Yeah.
And we had Colin Cameron playing for us. The side was Marshall, Paul Robinson, Jamie Vincent, Colin Cameron, Zach Whitbread. Remember him?
Yeah, a good player. Yeah.
Matt Lawrence. Yeah, my mate Alan Dunn.
Yeah.
Martin Elliott, Carlos Saba, Barry Hales, Dave Livermore. Substitutes were Ben May and Marvin Williams.
Different era. It's wonderful to hear those names, but it does seem like a long time ago now that you say that. And it is 20 odd years ago since that famous result. I'm just looking at the current Watford the officials. I mean, that's managed by Slaven Bilic. Neil is a very, very experienced manager internationally and in the Premier League. And they've got the likes of Julian Dix as assistant manager there. Some, I think there might be Croatians, Buterovic, Rakuna, and even our own dear Richard Shaw is their under-23 assistant coach. So, you know, they've got experience in depth all the way through, and they must be expecting to be contenders for those top 2 slots, because a win over us will bring the top 2 closer to them. No one really wants to get involved in the lottery of playoff football, though we give our right arm for it. But they would have ideas that they could be top 2 material. So we're up against it on Boxing Day, but 1,200 are travelling, and we know that they'll give them maximum support. We just really want to see a performance out of Millwall, Neil. It's been a bit of a flat restart recently, isn't it? For one reason or another.
Yeah, fair play to everybody that's going up there. It's not going to be easy getting now. I don't think there are trains for whatever reason. Strikes, people that are supposed to be fixing the tracks.
Yeah.
And there are never normally any trains on Boxing Day anyway. And
they've made it an early start. I presume that's to stop people getting on the sauce and causing trouble, as they would see it. It makes it a bit unfriendly. I would have gone, but I just can't see me making it to Watford for 12 o'clock kickoff. You've got to be there by 11:30, and it's just a bit of a brutal start to a Boxing Day morning now, isn't it? After Christmas Day, so
You probably don't get up early these days. No, you don't work. By the time you have your tea and toast and you potter around a little bit,
I'm making no. I'm not rising to this, listeners. I'm not rising to this. I just think it's an unfriendly start, but
it is an unfriendly start.
They do it on purpose, don't they?
Yeah, but it's a vicious start time, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, it is after Christmas Day where you might be up late enjoying yourself, family, and might have had a few
100 tickets. So we've only not sold a few hundred tickets, and it is a vicious start time. It's difficult to get to. I know. Apparently, the tube is running, but that's a
long tube journey because it stops everywhere, doesn't it, to get out to Watford? But it's
it's a bit of a walk from the tube station from memory. It's just let's face it, we are a London club, but a lot of our support doesn't actually live in London. It's scattered all over, and the majority have to get a train into London, and no trains. It just makes it doubly difficult. So fair play to anybody that's going. You have my undying admiration. I think when I lived in London many moons ago, I'd have probably moved heaven and earth to get there. God knows why, but we do need a decent performance. And funnily enough, these are the games we tend to get up for a little bit more, don't we? We tend to, if there's a bit of an atmosphere in there. I know atmosphere and Watford probably don't go well in the same sentence, do they? Well, certainly I've never been there, and it's been atmosphere apart from the atmosphere that Millwall create.
It's a funny club, Watford. It's not. I don't find them dislikable. It's not like, say, Crystal Palace, where I don't really like them. They're neither. They've got a touch of the. They're like a more improved, wealthier version of Charlton in a sense, in that they don't really make a mark on your psyche, do they? They're just there, But they've had more success in recent times than Charlton.
They're an insignificant club, aren't they? I think is probably the best way of describing them.
I think that's a good choice of words.
Clubs, they're a bit like Brentford, aren't they? They're one of those clubs that are there, but you don't really worry about them, do you?
You don't think about them. No, that's right. They're not on the Millwall radar. I'm just looking at the injury list. Apparently, Benik Afobe and Ryan Leonard both resumed light training. Whether they'll feature Boxing Day, I doubt. But anyway, and Callum Styles Neil also light training. Otherwise, it's going to be the kind of basic squad that we've seen in recent times. I just really hope that we can get some flowing play going again. It's been a stop-start season with bitty bits here and there, and then obviously we had that postponement at Luton, which would have been nice to again another unfriendly pitched kick-off time. But anyway, it got postponed. But it'd be nice just to start getting some momentum going again. We had it going into the World Cup break, and I just want to search for it, get it back again. So well done, everybody that's travelling up there. One bright spot, we mention him every show, Neil, is Zian Fleming. He's he's scored 9 goals. He's joint top of the championship scoring charts. He's really doing. I mean, he came here to boost his career. He really is boosting his CV from the both our point of view, but also as a prospective, target for other clubs going forwards. To score 9 goals in the championship is no mean feat. So he'll be looking to keep on that role going ahead.
Yeah, he's undoubtedly he's caught the eye of some scouts. Actually, something I wanted to go back on. When you mentioned injuries, I was reading in a piece. I think it was Richard Corley did it earlier in the week that we've had a lot of players suffering from tight calf muscles because apparently we've been training at the Den,
right?
And and they've been struggling with the firm surface there, which makes you wonder what we're actually training on down at Claremont Road, and if that's got something to do with. Well, if that's got something to do with all the injuries we play, so maybe the quicker they build that training ground,
the better. Yeah.
Silverstone way, the better. But coming back to Zian Fleming, he's like Jed Wallace, but with steroids, isn't he? He's really boosted us, and
it's some signing.
And a signing. He's been. It reinforces the notion. I don't know if you're going to come onto this that there are bargains abroad. You do your homework well, and you come out. You can pick up this kind of player, the kind of player that he's come to England, and he's making a tremendous
Made a real impact.
Yeah.
No, I was looking at News at Den on that very point. There's a piece on there. I mean, in a nutshell, questioning, speculating whether Millwall looking abroad for more signings. And there's a quote here from Gary Rowett mentioning Zian Fleming and Vogelsammer. And the way that they've been brought up in a different way tactically and the way they approach training. I take that to mean, Neil, that they have an intelligence to their training regime that helps to promote their career, because that's kind of reading between the lines a little bit. He's not said that directly, but that's kind of the implication. But there is a kind of a sense that we will carry on looking for good bargain players abroad. And I'm all for that. I mean, certainly Zian has been the most outstanding success, and we've yet to see really the best of Vogelsammer. But as we keep saying on this show, no, he's not really being played in his correct position at the moment, is he? So I'm hoping we start to see some benefit from him at some stage in this next phase of the season. And love to see more players coming in. It's heartening to read this.
I think they're players at different ends of their career, though, aren't they? They're different.
Yeah.
Your Vogelsammer was somebody that can come in and do a job. Yeah, probably because he was. Yeah, but let's face it, he was probably a lot cheaper than what we can find in this country. So it suited the budget. But Fleming is at the other end of the scale. Fleming's the kind of player that will come in and we can add value to and we can sell on. Yeah. Vogelsammer, I should imagine, is one of those people. I think we only signed him on a 1-year contract with an option.
He's 30-something, 30. I don't know. I don't know what he's age. He's a plus 30, I think. Yeah.
So you're not going to be selling him for 15, 20 million quid after a year, are you?
No.
So I think it's a different type of signing, but it's actually good. And we've said before, did Jake Cooper the other week mention the standards of Zion and?
I think he's mentioned the fact that they set high standards for themselves. Yeah. And that must be, I mean, Zian has come through the Ajax system, which is renowned in the game. And I think a lot of that is emphasising your own responsibility to yourself without getting too self-help book-ish, And I think foreign players often have this approach, don't they? That
they have a work ethic where they want to improve themselves technically.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know what the Millwall training regime is like, but I should imagine it's not far off. They get there at 9 o'clock in the morning, have a bit of breakfast.
Yeah.
Train at 10.
And looking to do the off about 11:30, 12-ish, I reckon.
Yeah.
Which is traditional, isn't it? That's the British way, as it has been. Betting shop after 1 o'clock, as it would have been in the 70s.
You've probably got some of these lads that will stay on and they'll do a little bit of technical work after the training, and they'll do this, that, and the other.
I think Jake mentioned that. I think it was mentioned with a sense of wonder that Zian was working on his free kick techniques, and after training, I think it's that point. I mean, it's easy to take the piss out of this, but that is the ethic that we want to see it. I mean, this is all great stuff to read. I'm just looking at the piece on the News at Den here, where Gary Rowett's saying that traditionally it's always been said that a club like Mill would want to sign British players. I mean, that's kind of been our approach as a general, including the British Isles, shall we say it. We want to sign the best type of player for our style of play and our philosophy. For us, the net has to be cast as wide as we can. That's music to my ears, Neil. For too long we've been a little bit parochial, I think. I mean, it's great to see these kinds of players being brought in, and clearly the rest of the squad can learn something from them. It's great.
Yeah, no, it is. I know. Yeah, well, I know we've kind of had our fingers burnt in the past. I can think of the Russians,
Yeah,
Bob Peters.
Peters. Well, we've had one or two that haven't really worked out.
Yeah. Who was the speedy little winger that came from Juventus?
Fofana. I liked him, but he had his quickness, but he didn't really have the ball control
That's
to
right.
go with it.
So we have had our fingers burnt, but that's no reason for us not to look again, because you look at clubs like Brentford. I know we bang on about the Brentford method, but they are very good at it. They are very good at finding players, adding value, and then selling on. And the Germans do it. Yeah, Borussia Dortmund. What do they pick up? They picked up young Bellingham for 15 million quid, and they're now going to ask 10, 15 times that.
Yeah. Well, it's the way to go, isn't it? I mean, Brentford have done well, and as you say, at the time the Bellingham signing might have looked expensive, certainly be out of our league, but now when you look at the resale value, it looks cheap. I mean, I think I'm just looking at the report also on London News here. A new signing, Adomo in Marku, the Irish boy. I think that's very much the intention. It's almost stated in the piece that he's seen as a project. We're going to add value to him, and I guess as with Zian, as with Adomo, that at some point, if they improve as per plan, then we'll be looking to resell at profit. That's the way we've got to go. It's taken us a long while to get to this stage, but thank God that we got there in the end, because it's the only model that can ever really see us progress, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think you're right, Nick. I think the buy, sell, repeat type of thing, isn't it? And
yeah.
A little while, considering that we're on the doorstep of Europe. Yeah, it's only a Eurostar away, isn't it? And you
Absolutely
there, and it just seems to be the one that but it always frustrated me. And when I was on the other place, we used to
the other place.
I got bothered for calling what it was. So we stick to the other place. Yeah, but it was frustrating that we didn't look at the foreign market. Brentford, I think, had a school teacher who lived in France scouting for them. And it's the kind of model that we should have been looking at 4, 5, 6 years ago. But
I wonder. I mean, this is pure speculation on my part, listeners. But I mean, Millwall historically has been seen as a fairly stereotyped club, and I think sometimes we've had managers that maybe aren't as comfortable with managing guys from abroad. I mean, I think Gary Rowett is. I think he's got this kind of media savvy persona, Neil. But not every manager can take on guys from different countries and blend them into the squad. And I think maybe that's, at times, I don't know, maybe that's held us back a little bit, whereas other clubs have not been stuck with the same approach for whatever reason. But I'm just really pleased to see us looking abroad. I think it's great, and we've clearly picked up an absolute gem in Zian Fleming. And I'm hoping that Idomo Imaku will also become a similar kind of highly polished diamond in our crown, because that's the way we've got to go. Let's keep our fingers crossed on that. We were going on and on about the
when I worked on the Sunday Express, and I used to deal in football gossip, because basically that's what they wanted from me. We speak to agents, and they say Millwall don't want foreign players.
No.
But that's changed, and it's great credit. Obviously, I don't want to see us with a team of 6 or 7 foreign players, because I think that would take away from what Millwall is.
You've got to preserve your identity. I suppose, if you think back to some classic sides now, I'm thinking back now to the kind of promotion side, 2000. We got Tim Cahill, you had Lucas Neal. You had one or two players from the British Isles in general, but I suppose they're all from what I would call an English-speaking British-style culture. It's another thing to be reaching onto the continent and bringing in guys that don't come from that kind of approach to life. I'm picking my words very carefully here, listeners, as you can probably tell. But I do think you've got to have a manager that's in place that's able to handle that. And maybe we've not always had that in the past. I do think, without blowing smoke up Gary Rowett's backside, I do think he is that kind of manager. He's a modern manager. And I'm hoping this works out for our benefit, especially with these recent signings. There may be more to come in January. We'll see. But yeah, good to shake off that stereotype, Neil.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Achtung, Millwall.
Unfortunately, after the much moved FA Youth Cup tie against Arsenal at Boreham Wood, in the end finished up as a bit of a walloping for our under-18 side, who were reported as having freezing, literally froze on the night, and the freezing circumstance, but also frozen in the sense of being a bit overwhelmed by the Arsenal side, who would have some really good prospects. It finished 6-0 in the third round of the FA Youth Cup. I don't believe, Neil, that you should be results focused at this age. I know that will hurt that result, and maybe that a lot of the kids will come away from that feeling very much second best to a very, very high quality side. But I think there's always something you can learn from these kinds of experiences, and I hope that none of them will take that too much to heart, because it sounds like they were beaten by a very good side, and as has been reported, that some players froze in the face of a decent side. But that comes with experience, and that will be part of what builds these players up. I'm hoping that it isn't seen as too much of a disaster, although it won't have been a pleasant experience for them on the day.
Yeah, no, I think there's an expression: "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger."
That's a good expression. I like that.
But it's just one of those things, isn't it? I think that Arsenal probably spend more on their youth budget than we do on a club. Yeah, they might even spend 2 or 3 times more on their youth budget than we do on our entire club. Yeah, their youth setup is probably better than our first team setup. I know they've got an academy centre at Hale End, haven't they? Up at the top end of Walthamstow Way.
Yeah.
But it's no disgrace. These will be the creme de la creme of your youth players. They don't sign. But they're shopping in Waitrose. We shop in Aldi, don't we? If you want an expression in youth terms, that's what it's like. They're going after the very, very, very best, and we're picking up players that might have slipped through, that might have gone unnoticed. And there's no two ways about it. You look at our under-23 side, and I think a lot of them played in that game that we narrowly lost to Chelsea 2 or 3 years ago.
That's right.
And
I agree. I think we
good youth sides, and maybe sometimes you have not so good youth sides, but at the end of the day, the job of the youth side is to produce players for hopefully for your first team. So I hope they're not disheartened. I hope they're not disheartened. They probably don't play that standard of opposition all the time, because I guess they're in a different academy setup to us. And but just don't read too much into it. As long as they went up there, they gave everything that they could give. It's only natural they're going to freeze, because
they're up against serious opposition there. I agree. I hope. I mean, most of the youth feeder sides will not generate players that will go on to play for Millwall. Some will, most won't. But I think it's more about them building a career suitable for their level and standard of play. I do agree that the purpose of our system has to be to find, I was trying to say the crumbs from the rich man's table, but it's more like finding the undiscovered talent that has somehow fallen through the system. Teams like Arsenal, Chelsea, the top sides, Liverpool, Manchester United, and all the rest, Manchester City, will hoover up the very obvious big talent players, But that doesn't mean that we can't do a job. But I just wanted to say well done to the under-18s for getting so far. And it's no disgrace, in my opinion, to come up against a much, much better opponent on the day. So well done to everyone for that. Just to move us along, Neil, I just wanted to mention our calendar. I've got some more to send out today, listeners. So unfortunately, the post service obviously now is in the Christmas zone. So I hear that some have already arrived from where we sent them the other day. We've generated £482 so far. I'm hoping that will go at least over the £500 mark. This is the Achtung Millwall historical calendar with our team photos from across the years, supplied by Chris Bethel. Some really fantastic pictures in there, and I've tried to do a little bit of an explanation piece alongside each team photo to explain what happened that particular season, who was who, top scorers was, and so on. We're going to have some for sale on the ahead of the Bristol game. I'm going to give some to Kelly to sell out of the Lions Food Hub. We're asking for a tenner as a minimum. I'm going to put some. I've done some little postcards as well, Neil, with the first ever Millwall team photograph, Millwall Rovers in 1885, and I put it on a postcard. If you want to take a postcard, please do. If you want to put a little bit of extra coins in the pot for the Food Hub, then you'll be very welcome. So they'll be on the counter at the Food Hub ahead of the Thursday night game, and also ahead of the Rotherham game on New Year's Day. Really appreciate everyone's help and contribution. We're hoping to get as close as we possibly can to £1,000. We'll be certainly over the £500 mark now with it now, and I'm hoping to get closer after those two home games where some may want to give cash and it will go directly to the Food Hub. Those calendars will not even involve me. Kelly will get that money straight into the funds. And it's a fantastic cause, Neil. And I personally believe it's a great little calendar we put together, and it will interest any Millwall fan because it gives you a touch of history of our club since 1894 on this particular edition. So just want to say a big thank you to everybody.
Yeah, well, you never guessed that Nick used to work in housing. Yeah, but you thought he'd have worked in sales with that pitch. It's a picture, mate, that was. I can't even top that with a bit of sarcasm.
Go on, give us a bit of sarcasm.
Yeah, well, a bit of Bob Geldof, give us your fucking money speech.
Give us your fucking money. It's only a tenner. And you can have a free postcard with the first ever Millwall Rovers side photograph. But
it is a brilliant cause, Nick, and it's a great calendar. It's something that you put a great deal of thought and effort into every year. And like I said a couple of weeks ago, you're guaranteed that this calendar will not be out of date in January because everybody's dead. Nobody's going to move clubs.
It's funny. I was just looking at the Millwall site, the club site. They've got obviously the club produced an official calendar, which is in colour. It's bigger. It's more colourful than our one, but it runs a risk that it'll be out of date inside at the end of January if we sell someone. But there we are.
So John Fleming isn't Mr. January.
Dude, get them both. Get them both. Get our one as well, though, because it goes to a good cause. And if you want to bung in a pound or two extra for the postcard, please do, because these are nice little photographs of the. I might do a few more postcards actually, Neil, because I think that's quite a nice way for people to put 50p in or a pound or whatever. It all helps, and it goes to a great cause.
Achtung, Millwall.
Transfer open. I noticed that we're open to make one or two signings. Very exciting. Very exciting. I think we need them. I look forward to the Gary Rowett annual quote. We've got irons in the fire, which I think has been used by every Millwall manager since the day dot.
I think Mark McGee begin that phrase? He always had irons in the fire.
Kenny Jackett always had irons in the fire.
It's quite a picturesque, old-fashioned phrase, isn't it? It puts you in mind of a roaring open fire in some rural cottage somewhere.
think we do need one or two, to be honest.
We
There's
do
one
if we're
or
going to
two.
press on. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, exactly. Although I did notice that we're linked with Pistorius. Is it the Hibernian central defender that I think we've looked at once or twice? I'm not sure we need a central defender. I'd say we definitely need somebody out wide, if not two people out wide. Depends upon the manager's thoughts, and we probably need another four, somebody that can stick the ball in the back of the net.
We mentioned a Palace player the other day, didn't we? I don't have his name to hand now. As a Palace
I think
player, he's been at Charlton.
I can't.
No.
Yeah, I can't remember what he's called. And let's face it, if he's at the Spotters, we have a look where they are in the table, and thanks but no thanks, unless he's Lionel Messi, reincarnated.
He might be. Well, he might not be if he's been through Charlton and not made an impact there and gone back to Crystal Palace. We'll see. I think it's very unfair to assess players, or to you can't assess them. All you can do is guess at how good they're going to be. I think a lot depends. Yeah, I mean, it depends on the atmosphere. I mean, I do believe Millwall is a welcoming club, and I do believe that players improve when they come to our side, and the chance to play regular first team football for the boy, if he's on the fringes of the Palace Premier League squad, and he's looking to break into that, then this is a good place to come to, Neil. But we'll see. I do agree with you. I do agree we need something extra going forwards. We're just not quite there at the moment. And there's a massive chance. We've already said at the start of the show that this is a big opportunity for a lot of teams, and we need to grab that opportunity. So fingers crossed that we get some new personality in, because I think that could be the decider between mid-table and pressing ahead. So fingers crossed on that front.
Something I did notice in the London News Online today was that, I think it was the London News Online, or was it News at Den? It was one of the two, that Murray Wallace harbours international ambitions. And
does he?
Wouldn't, and I would have thought that you need to play a little bit better than you have done this season so far, Muzzer, if you want to play for the Jocks. Because I would have thought I'm more likely to get a cap than you, and I don't qualify. Murray this season. I don't know about you, Nick. I think he's been outstanding the majority of times since he came to us. But I think that this season, he suffered a lot. He doesn't look Murray Wallace, does he?
No.
There's something there's lacking there.
How old is he now, Murray? He must be past 30, is he? I'm going to have a look while I'm talking to make it sound like I had this prepped up, listeners. I didn't. I'm just going to be looking. But what I would say is I go round in circles, because I love Murray Wallace to bits. I think most Millwall fans do. I think we all see something of ourselves in his willingness to work hard and make himself undroppable, as he's really done for a large chunk of his career. But I do think you're right, Neil. I think that quality tells, doesn't it? And unfortunately, you can't fake it. And he's been a bit exposed a few times. Maybe it's the way the squad is. Maybe there's not enough in front of him to enable him to not be exposed. I don't know. I wonder. I haven't seen enough to generate international level interest for him, for Scotland this season. 30 in January, there it is, yeah. So now it's probably now or never if he is going to make it for the Scottish national. I'd love to see him do it. I'd love to see him get recognition internationally. And
I think he's got Robertson of Liverpool in front of him, hasn't he?
He's going to have to go some. Let's be honest.
But then again, it's not bad to have this dream, is it? To be honest, and
it's good to be ambitious.
Last season I'd said he'd have been worth a place in the Scotland squad, but on his form this season,
it's just hard to see it.
Yeah, I know Scott Malone suffered with a lack of form earlier in the season, got dropped, and when he's come in once or twice recently, he's looked to be the old Scott Malone, hasn't he?
I do wonder that we don't have much in front of him on the left side, do we? I mean, we tend not to be. We're not really geared up to protect the back four in the way maybe a old school 4-4-2 formation might have done. And I think that maybe that's not helped his cause this season. It's I'd love to see him. I'd love to see him do well. I think it takes a very hard-hearted person not to love it when Murray Wallace gets forward, does the Cruyff turn, plays the odd pass that connects and looks a bit like Johan Cruyff in his heyday. These are the moments you live for, Neil. And it's sad to see him off the boil.
Yeah, no, he's a good Millwall player. He's the type of player that if we had 11 Murray Wallaces in the side, giving everything, we wouldn't go far wrong. But I just think that this season, his performances haven't been as good as they've been previously. And it's good to have the ambition that he wants to play for his country. But I think I've got more chance at the minute. And I
think you might be right. I think you might be right there, mate. Just to move us along, I just wanted to give an update, listeners, if I may, Neil. About a year ago, I did a crowd fund for a plaque for Bob Hunter, our manager from the first manager in the Football League, coach on the Isle of Dogs, one of the stalwarts of the Millwall Athletic side pre-First World War. I would say almost, if not quite a founding father, Neil, but certainly one of the founding figures of our club. And I wanted to get one of these Our Wall plaques put up. We've got about 500 quid together. I paid for the plaque on the club website, £499 to be exact, for a decent sized plaque to go on the Our Wall, marking Bob Hunter's position in our club. Unfortunately, there's a problem with these plaques. The company that fit them, which was Builders Our Wall on our website, apparently it's a company that does work across a number of Football League and Premier League clubs. I think they do exist, but I think they've gone into a bit of a tailspin at the moment. I don't think they're a functioning company at the minute, and that's a very unsatisfactory situation from our point of view. I believe that the club are trying to deal with it legally at the moment. So I don't know if I'm telling tales out of school in saying that, but that's the situation. So not only are we the only order outstanding, there are others too. So I think we're going to work with the club, going to work with the MSC to see what we can do to mark Bob Hunter's name at the ground, and I want to work on that. The plaque situation, I think, may be going down a road where it's in the hands of the club to resolve it. But I just wanted to bring people up to date because I took money off of people. Fundamentally, I feel like I've let people down a bit in a way because we took money for a crowdfund and we haven't been able to deliver the plaque that we said we would. That is out of our hands at the minute, but we're going to work with the club to see what else we can do to mark Bob's name. And I think it's important that we do mark his name, Neil.
I know. We were talking about a podcast, weren't we, and that to mark it. I don't think you... Yeah, but it's unfortunate that you've crowdfunded this and that the company's gone bust, so it's obviously no reflection upon you. And
I think the company exists, but it looks like it's a one-man. I've done a little bit of research into it, listeners, but I'm not an investigative journalist. It does still exist. It looks like it's a one-man band, but I don't think they're trading at the moment. That's going to be something that's in the hands of Millwall Football Club to resolve. I don't know where that's going to finish at the moment. We'll keep people updated as best we can. But I thought as we're doing this podcast, it goes to a lot of people, and some of those would have contributed to the crowdfund. And it's been a long while, and I just wanted to let people know where we're at with it.
I've just had a thought. Obviously, we've got a wide listenership, and we've got people that have got varying skills. If we have got a monumental mason, I believe, and who could make us up a plaque, I'm sure that you will have the undying gratitude of those people that have crowdfunded, and I'm sure that we could persuade the club to put up a plaque. If there is somebody out there that does have those skills or knows somebody who could...
Well, give us a shout. That's a good idea. Yeah, I mean, I know little about the world of stonemasonry, but if anyone does know anything of it, give us a shout. That's an interesting...
Me on Twitter, you can find Nick on Twitter.
Yeah.
You can find me on Facebook. Just give us a shout. And if somebody can help, Bob Hunter was a colossal figure in the early history of Millwall. He brought a lot of players down from Scotland that helped put us on the map when we first joined the Southern League. And then he was with the club when we went into the Football League, as Nick said. So, and he's somebody that has been forgotten. And I know Nick and myself, we plan to do a podcast on him, and we will do a podcast on him, but we wanted to do it to coincide with an unveiling so people had a little bit of knowledge of who Bob Hunter was.
Yeah.
But if there is somebody out there that can help us, get in touch, and I'm sure the club would only be too willing to let us put up a plaque in some part of the club. I'd quite like us to have a wall somewhere where we could have a Millwall Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I've been talking to Catherine from the MSC about this, because similar kind of idea. A Hall of Fame is the precise term I think she wants to move towards, and I think it's a great idea to mark. There are many other figures. Bob Hunter is an outstanding figure in our history. Neil, we've mentioned him a good few times for the reason that he put us on the map. That you could go as far to say as, but for Bob Hunter's efforts, Mill FC wouldn't be the club that we all follow to this day. He died in office. He died at the age of 71, and as Millwall manager, he passed away whilst in office as Millwall manager. So, huge figure. I think it's right that we mark it. Anyway, I just wanted to bring people up to date to where we're at with that. And if there is anyone out there that has anything to do with stonemasonry or plaques, metallic or stone, I don't know, give us a shout. It'd be great to see what we can do, and at least mark his contribution somewhere. I think it's important, and there will be others. I think you're right. I think the Hall of Fame is a cracking idea, and I'd love to see that come to. I know the MSC would love to see it come to pass too. So let's press on that. That's a good idea.
Good God, I actually agree with the MSC on something.
There we are. We're reconciling the. We're going to move on to the Palestine-Israeli question next and bring them together. One final thing I just wanted to mention, or two final things, Neil, before we close. I've been doing a few Listed Lions shows recently, listeners. I don't know if anyone's listened to them. I really enjoyed doing these Listed Lions shows. And if you'd like to be a listed lion, if you want to tell your story, particularly if we have any older listeners, I just think it's a brilliant way to record a conversation with someone who's experienced the club in the past, as far back as you like. The longer the experience, the better. And I'd like to get as many of these Listed Lion shows done as I possibly can do over the months ahead, because I just think they're wonderful records of a life, a life lived around our club. And I really enjoyed doing them. So if you know anyone, or if you want to be a Listed Lion, give us a shout. I've got some standard questions I can send you, but really it's about the conversation around those basic questions. And I always enjoyed doing them. So give me a shout. Give Neil a shout if you follow him on Twitter, and we can see what we can put together. So yeah, I just thought I'd give them a bit of a boost. And
they'll be safe from my questioning as well. I've got nothing to do with this. We don't have to answer nonsensical questions from. You get nonsensical questions from Nick.
Every time I do one, I've got I've nicked the idea. I mean, I don't claim it as a copyrighted Nick Hart idea. It's not. I've nicked it off of Robert Elms used to do it on the Listed Londoners, and I nicked the idea of him. But that's always the best ideas are always stolen, aren't they? But I always think every time I do it, I've got about 10 questions. I ought to really change some of these questions. I never ever do. So you'll get the basic 10 questions that I always think, I ought to change some of these. But
you can admit you nick it, Nick. Yeah, in the world of Millwall media, not everybody can admit they nick stuff.
Well, you do. I mean, it's like music, Neil. Every band is influenced by somebody, and
Everyone takes off everyone in this life, in journalism.
journalists, writing, whatever you want, film, TV, you name it.
Everybody nicks off everyone else. It's
The
not
key is to bring your own spin to it and put yourself into it and make it something that is yours. And I've tried to do that with these listed. I've done a few over the time. They've gone off the board a little bit, but I've revived them recently, and I thought, I don't know why I left them so long.
I listened to one we did the other week.
Yeah.
And somebody that had been around in the 70s, and he was describing how his match day in the 70s, I think it was. It was fantastic.
Yeah. So, no, I'd love to do some more like that. So give us a shout. Everyone's story is different. I mean, some of the memorable games and some of the memorable players tend to follow certain patterns, but that doesn't demean them. Certainly any stories you can tell around going to Millwall over the years, 70s, 60s. I just think they're great records of increasing the time that's gone, the life that's gone. So, wonderful stuff. Give me a shout. I think we've reached the end of my sketched agenda here, Neil. I just wanted to close by thanking you, mate, for your effort. Doing this week and week out is it takes effort, and I just want to say thank you to you for always pitching up and doing these recordings, because otherwise it's a monologue by me, and that's not as interesting to listen to. So I just want to say thank you to you.
Yeah, no problem, mate. But it appears as if we've got a fan base. People do.
We had a message saying how much they enjoy. One of the listeners, I won't name them, how much they enjoy something for the weekend shows, and I thought that's a fan base. We've got following. We've got to do a show. We've got to do a show now because we have a fan out there. So
it's a great thing. It's just our spin on. It's just our take on the Millwall news. I know people want us to look at games in more depth, but that's not what this show's really about. This show is about our take on the Millwall news, rightly or wrongly. I know you've all probably got your bingo cards ready, and you're going to be sadly disappointed today because I'm not going to mention that word.
No woke bingo this week, listeners. It won't pay out.
Mention it.
It'll be a rollover this week. It's got to be you that mentions it, not me. It's got the bingo is when Neil mentions the W word, and this week is a rollover. So we'll pay out next time we do one of these shows.
Yeah, fruit pastels.
Yeah, it's 2 fruit pastels. Neil, big thank you. Happy Christmas to you, mate. Happy Christmas to all of the listeners out there. Let's hope for 3 points at Vicarage Road on Boxing Day. I might do a show after that, and Neil and I will be back maybe next week. Neil, we've got Friday before the Rotherham game, so we can probably catch up then, mate. So until the next edition from Neil Fissler and I, it's Happy Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everybody, and Merry Christmas, Nick. And
yeah, have a good one. Arrivederci Millwall. Bye for now.
Achtung, Millwall.